Yo, what it do? It's your boy Culture Shock back with another video, and I get this question a lot. And I never really made a video on this, so I thought, why not do it now? So just if anyone ever asks this question about me, they can see it on my page, man. You know, I get this question. They ask, man, hey man, when did you become a Colts fan, or why are you a Colts fan? It goes back to the basis of me actually just starting to watch football. I was never an expert. I never played football in high school, or middle school. I never played football at all for a team. But when I actually started watching the game, one of the teams that became my favorites over the time is the Indianapolis Colts. Back in that RCA Dome and all those moments, man, all those moments and memories. One of my most memorable games I can remember was a Monday Night Football game. I believe we played the Dolphins, and Peyton Manning threw an 80-yard bomb up to Dallas Clark, and we just took off like right after that. It was at the beginning of the game. It's like I can remember it like it was yesterday. One of the most vivid moments for me was that play and that pass at that minute. And that was a primetime game. Shockingly, the Colts was on primetime, but yes, he threw a bomb up to Dallas Clark. He wound up scoring off that 80 yards. I think he did something like that with Pierre Garçon too. We had Pierre on their roster at that time. It was like maybe 30 to 40 yards, but we pretty much was in a barn burner with the Dolphins. They still had Ronnie Brown at that moment. Ronnie Brown was one of those wildcat type of running backs. He could throw the football and run it at the same time. But those is one of those games that just made me become a fan of that team. Now, of course, that's a little bit later, like 2008, 9-ish. But early in my years, where you're young and you like a team, you don't really know the game of football until you get older. So I had to be very young, maybe like 2003, 2004. I was super young, middle school probably. And I enjoyed this team. I didn't know anybody on the roster. Of course, when you play Madden, you start to realize names like Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and those natures. But, I always liked this team. I liked the colors, blue and white. So, I just stuck with them. On Madden, back in the day, I was, just rolling through teams. And they never got a fit for me, like the Cowboys, the Eagles of the world, and teams of that nature. And it never really stuck with me. But when I used the Colts after watching them on TV, I just was like, all right, this is gonna be my team, and this is who I'm gonna root for. So I became a Colts fan at that moment. We didn't have anything to live for. It wasn't easy. At that moment, we weren't the best team either. So, it wasn't like you couldn't call me a bandwagon of that nature or anything. But, coming from that, the Colts and being a fan of them, we had some rough patches, man. We had some rough patches back in 2004 going into now. It's been a roller coaster being a Colts fan, man. But, I was great to actually seeing us go to the Super Bowl and actually beating the Chicago Bears. I had a chance to see in that. So that was pretty awesome as an experience. But Peyton Manning to me is still the GOAT. Of course, Tom Brady, you guys gonna call him the GOAT, but he's the ultimate winner. But I think when you look at actual quarterback play, of course Tom Brady is nice, but Peyton Manning was just a different breed, man. People like to bring up playoff slumps and all these things, but like people forget that he was the first quarterback to throw like 50 touchdowns in a season. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes. It was Peyton freaking Manning. Like Peyton Manning was a consistently 50 touchdown per season quarterback. Like he was just a dog, and he never really had a built roster built around him in his whole career. He was getting out the mud most of them years, man, and it was rough for him. And he was out there just throwing those things, like throwing touchdowns. He just was a menace, and that's why he's always going to be like my favorite quarterback, because he was the first one I've seen, the first one I've witnessed. And I just stuck with him at that point because I was like, this dude is nice. And he didn't have a Super Bowl at that time. So, like I said, you can't call me a bandwagon or anything. So it was just at that moment, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna root for this team. And ever since then, I've been rooting for the Colts. Through the ups and through the downs, I could have been left the Colts fan base because we had some horrible seasons. Even the moment when we got rid of Peyton Manning, that off season was just a crazy time to be a Colts fan. You get rid of a Super Bowl winner. He had multiple injuries, neck injuries, and they didn't know how he was going to bounce back, so they decided to part ways. When you get older and the times go by, you start to understand why it happened. It's still no hard feelings because, as you can see from the Hall of Fame speech and everything, him and Irsay are still close. They spent time together on the plane and everything. So, you understand that at the end. But ooh, when it happened, oh man, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it for 1 second. But we wound up getting Andrew Luck after that. Andrew Luck was a dog. When we played Peyton when he was in Denver and we wound up beating him, oh man, it just felt so surreal. It felt so surreal, man. But Peyton Manning was still torturing us whenever he got the chance. But Andrew Luck, taking the helm from Peyton Manning, it was just a good changing of the guard, man. I really enjoyed that. For a second, we thought that Andrew Luck was going to be, the next great thing, man. He was out there, still struggling like Peyton with no offensive line at the time. His time with the Colts, I feel like it was wasted. You know what I mean? Like he had everything that you were looking for in a quarterback. The one thing he was missing was protection. Like he had a few protectors on there, but it just wasn't a solid offensive line in general. Like he would have had today, man. And like the fact that day when he retired, man, we can still think about it to this day. Colts fans, we cannot get over that moment. It was heartbreaking. Like you really realize that your quarterback is gone. And now you're stuck with, backups and former starters, and it's just like back to square one. And I still was a Colts fan. Like I said, it was rough to be a Colts fan for a while. It really was, man. We had Matt Hasselbeck at the time. I really enjoyed Matt Hasselbeck, by the way. If you didn't, I don't know what to say, but I enjoyed Matt Hasselbeck. We had Josh Freeman, players like that. Jacoby came in. We had PJ Walker out there, stuff like that. Most people talk about Chad Kelly. Man, we had a bunch of quarterbacks at that time. If you remember any quarterbacks, please feel free to put them in the comment section. But we had a lot of quarterbacks when Andrew Luck was getting hurt, and even when he retired. Jacoby, he would have had his shot, but he went down with that injury and just was never the same after that either. But man, it was woof. The changing of the guard at quarterback was just a crazy time to be a Colts fan. It really was. We've seen some great running backs too, man. I've seen some great running backs too as a Colts fan, man. The Andrew James. I love Joseph Adai. I really did. I thought he was a dog. The Dominic Rhodes duo, him and Adai, I love both of them back there. I really did. And now we got Mack and Taylor, could be even better than what they were. I love that. Watching Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, we talk about who was the best wide receiver out of all of them every time, in every stream, in every video, every Colts channel. But I still would tell you to this day, the best wide receiver, no knock, is Marvin Harrison. I love Reggie Wayne to death. I really do. But Marvin Harrison was unreal. The Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison duo might have been one of the best duos in NFL history. Of course, you got the Rice and Montana and all that good jazz. But definitely Peyton and Marvin is like top 3 or top 2. Of course, you can name Brady and Moss, but they didn't even win the Super Bowl, so I wouldn't even put them over there. Like, of course, you might say, oh, Marvin didn't score in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. They got there and got the job done. They got the ring. So, I mean, like, they're number 2 in my opinion. They was like Deuce and Domino. Those dudes could not be stopped. And Marvin Harrison would Peyton would go up there, he would throw it up, and Marvin would go get it. Simple as that. But those two was just insane, man. Watching Bob Sanders, another talent that was gone too soon. Like, he was a dog. And if he would have stayed healthy, he would have been maybe a top 5 of all time. He got a Super Bowl. But, Robert Mathis, Dwight Freeney, Gary Brackett, all this talent that we've seen, Doss, Bethea, Kelvin Hayden, Kenny Moore that we're watching now, Quentin Nelson that we're watching now, Darius Leonard that we're watching now. All this talent that we've seen go in and out. Darius Butler in and out of Indianapolis. The changing of the GMs, all these things, man, like the Griggs and era, all these things that we've seen as a Colts fan, in my opinion as well, has just been flat out a roller coaster, but I enjoyed every single second of it. I know it's going to be better over the time. I know it's going to be better. Like, I can't wait for the future as a Colts fan. Like, I'm glad to be a Colts fan. I could have been anywhere else, but I'd rather be here. But let me know your thoughts of when you became a fan of the Indianapolis Colts. Let me know your thoughts of when you became a fan of your NFL team, even if you're not a Colts fan. But let me know your whole thoughts in the comment section. This is Marcus, and until next time, you've been Culture Shocked.